It's that time, y'all, for some more conspiracy theories, unexplained mysteries, and just some crazy news of the world. But before we get to all of that, man, we gotta unplug some more people out of the matrix. All right, and you do that by hitting the like button, then putting hashtag unplugged in the comment section. All right, and if you new, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join the family. All right, let's get to the madness.
The record number of fires burning across Brazil's Amazon rainforest has prompted renewed global outcry over climate change. And big spending. $5 million from Leonardo DiCaprio, £10 million from the UK. Meanwhile, Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial.
How long will it be?
Whoa. A chemical cloud? Isn't this funny when you see that and then you think about all these wildfires burning in Canada? Just, y'all don't see any type of connection, correlation, anything like that? Okay, all right.
Countries keep experiencing these climate impacts before someone gets desperate and says, hey, we need to cool the planet with solar geoengineering.
It would look something like this. Thousands of planes would fly very high and use nozzles to inject millions of tons of light-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. It would create a thin chemical cloud of those particles around the whole planet, blocking some sunlight from reaching the surface. It would mimic a giant volcanic eruption, which we know cools the Earth. Back in 1991, Mount Pinatubo erupted in the Philippines. It was the largest eruption to affect a densely populated area, creating avalanches and giant mud flows that left more than 700 dead and 30,000 homeless. It also spewed a cloud of 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide particles into the stratosphere. That chemical cloud was hundreds of miles across and reflected about 2% of sunlight back to space. And in 1992, the Earth was cooler than in 1991.
That is part of the mechanism, but you do this in a controlled way.
Modelling studies have found that it could reduce the intensity of heat waves, for instance. Apparently it could reduce the rate of sea level rise. It could reduce the intensity of tropical storms.
But it also comes with significant risks and uncertainties.
Things like mass famine, mass flooding, drought, of kinds that will affect very large populations.
It could weaken monsoons in India, China, and Africa enough to affect crops. It could eradicate blue sky.
You start increasing the amount of diffuse light and you have less direct light, which is the same thing as saying it looks hazy and white.
And if the global community decides it should stop?
So you stop injecting it, and after a year, the cloud is gone, and you get this rapid warming at a rate much faster than you would get if we had done nothing. If you've taken out the greenhouse gases that are adding to the warming, then the temperature won't go up, it'll stay what it is. So if we don't stop emitting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, we don't try as hard as we can to do that, then there's no point in doing solar geoengineering.
A 2016 opinion poll conducted by the Harvard group doing solar geoengineering research found that 67% of subjects support its use. One reason this technology is appealing, it's cheap. One study estimates it would cost an average of $2.25 billion globally every year for the first 15 years of deployment. Compare that to the $500 billion the US government estimates it will cost just the US by 2100 if no action is taken against climate change. Or the $1.6 to $3.8 trillion projected global spending by 2050 on low-carbon energy production. You can also compare it to direct air carbon capturing, another climate change solution backed by Bill Gates and by big oil. It involves sucking billions of tons of carbon out of the air. And at $100 to $200 a ton, it could be big business. Solar geoengineering, on the other hand, is so cheap that nobody currently stands to make money from the process.
But just because a solution is cheap doesn't make it a good one.
That's true.
It's cheap and dangerous.
It doesn't require a lot of materials. It doesn't require a big innovation. It basically affects the whole planet with one project. So that is not necessarily a situation that has a lot of profit opportunity, right? Because there's not going to be a lot of different people that can do it and compete in a marketplace.
Bill Gates is among a dozen individual donors and 14 foundations backing the first stratospheric solar geoengineering experiment out of Harvard. It's called Stratospheric Controlled Perturbation Experiment, or SCOPEX. A high-altitude balloon will lift instruments about 20 kilometers into the stratosphere, where it will release less than 2 kilograms of different naturally occurring chemicals, like calcium carbonate and sulfates, and then measure the change in atmospheric chemistry and light scattering. The Harvard group that runs ScopeX and other experiments has raised more than $16 million, more than double any other solar geoengineering effort. And annual global funding has gone up from $1 million in 2008 to $8 million in 2018, with the majority of that funding coming from the US. The first phase of ScopeX will cost around $3 million, with much more needed for wider research on solar geoengineering. To this point, stratosphere injections have only been tested with climate modeling. In the UK, a government-funded solar radiation management test called SPICE was cancelled in 2012 because of issues with patents.
And we're not trying to develop any technology that is patented or where we want to make money with this later on.
A study last year found that no existing aircraft can inject the stratosphere at a high enough altitude, but developing a new high-altitude tanker would not be technologically difficult or prohibitively expensive. Nozzles still need to be designed that can continuously blast out trillions of particles, and scientists still need to decide what chemicals those particles should be made of. But unlike
this is probably where all of those conspiracy theories came out about planes emitting these type of things out. People are assuming this is already going on, not just being talked about.
Cloud brightening, which is another solar reflection technique, the tech needed for stratospheric injections is not far off.
The technology is not the main thing that's holding this back. The main thing that's holding it back is the uncertainty about what the exact effects would be and the positives and negatives of its effects, and the governance and decision-making process for implementing it.
Other radical attempts to control climate change have been tested in the past, like when one California businessman dumped 100 tons of iron dust in the Pacific to spawn the growth of carbon-absorbing plankton. But unlike small, sometimes rogue experiments, planet-wide solar geoengineering will require buy-in from the international community.
You know, in our simulations we found China got warmer and drier relative to the past when you stabilized global temperature, and India was now cooler and wetter. So you can see there how, you know, international relations around using this technology could become complicated.
I mean, we can't even decide on what to do about emissions of greenhouse gases, and so how are we going to decide on setting the planetary thermostat?
There's the real concern that we won't be able to reach agreement, we being the entire planet, and so there's the prospect that countries just go ahead and do solar geoengineering, and that causes disagreement, conflict, tension, even possibly war.
3 years ago, the international community did come together when almost 200 countries signed the Paris Agreement on climate change, agreeing to limit global temperature rise to less than 2 degrees Celsius. Since then, President Trump has stated his intent to withdraw from the agreement.
The Paris Climate Accord is simply the latest example of Washington entering into an agreement that disadvantages the United States.
And global emissions are not being reduced fast enough to reach these goals.
We know what we should be doing. What we should be doing is reducing carbon emissions. So we're creating a moral hazard. We are providing an out for you where you can say, well, I'm going to fix this technologically instead of doing the ethically right thing to do.
I'm with him on that, bro. Let's start reducing that. Let's do that instead of the other way. Because like I said before, I fear we could send ourselves into an ice age. There's also an X factor that we're not going to be able to calculate everything that possibly can go wrong. And for that unknown, for me, I'm no, thank you.
It's way too early to give up on much more ethical approaches to climate change. Right? If future generations were literally in the room to question us on our dubious arguments, we wouldn't get far with some of the kinds of arguments we're trying to offer for neglecting conventional climate policy and going down this path.
For now, the failure to rapidly reduce emissions has prompted more exploration of alternative solutions like carbon dioxide removal and solar geoengineering. But scientists warn we will still need to reduce emissions too.
If we're not cutting CO2 emissions at the same time, from my perspective, there's little point in doing this because you would have to start using ever-increasing amounts.
No responsible scientist says that it's a silver bullet. All the responsible scientists say this is something that we deploy if we had to, alongside all the other stuff that we already have to do.
The U.S. Academies of Sciences is holding a series of meetings to study solar geoengineering, including one at Stanford this month. The committee will issue a report next year with recommendations for how, or if, solar geoengineering research should continue. Some scientists say the research is necessary in order to arm future generations with the ability to enact this backup plan, even though it seems nearly impossible now.
We ought to start working on this solar climate engineering problem right now with as much urgency as we can, so that if we want to deploy it in a decade or so, we understand what we have to do.
This is a real moral horror, especially in a situation where we're not doing all the things that we could be doing to minimize the risks of climate catastrophe now.
But experts do agree that more public awareness is needed around solar geoengineering, because within a couple decades, for better or worse, it could be part of the solution, helping return the planet to pre-industrial temperatures.
Modelling evidence gathered over the last decade has pretty consistently found that a moderate amount of solar geoengineering could significantly reduce many of the impacts of climate change. But it can't be a solution because it doesn't return the climate system back to how it was. It doesn't do anything about things like ocean acidification. So whatever happens, we've got to cut our CO2 to zero. So right now, we need more research to understand this better and a broader conversation so that all of the world's nations have a seat at the table when this is discussed.
President Biden may claim he didn't coin the term Bidenomics, but he sure has been leaning into it lately.
And all the talk about a big spend in Biden, I lowered the deficit. $1.7 trillion in the first 2 years. No one's ever done that. The last guy increased it by 40. Anyway, I won't finish. Well, that's Bidenomics in action.
And whether he's creepily whispering or ineffectively shouting about the strength of
Why did she say that? Like, whether he's creepily
economic policies, Americans don't appear to be buying his assurances. According to a new Reuters Ipsos poll, the economy remains the top concern for Americans. A new report in Fortune says many are cutting back on personal hygiene products like scouring shelves for cheaper toothpaste, and what they say is a troubling sign for the economy. Kevin, thank goodness we have a resident expert on the couch today. What do you make of this?
It's true. The problem with the policies so far and the multiple bills, including the CHIPS Act and, of course, the Anti-Inflation Act, whatever you want to call it, is just massive spending, but it's the target of where that spending went. Here's the problem. Most of it's going to the S&P 500 companies. They're important. They're big employers in America. However, they only represent 40% of the economy. What we haven't seen is the unintended consequence that's now we're seeing is that we're starving small business in America. We throw billions to Intel and nothing to a guy in Champaign-Urbana who's running a shop with 58 employees. His cost of capital, because of these rapid rate hikes, has gone through the moon. It went from maybe 6 or 7% now to 20%. He can't raise any capital because the regional banks have stopped lending to him as they wait to see what the new liquidity rules are. This is why I was on the Hill yesterday. I was banging the drum up and down the hall saying, everybody, let's wake up to what's happening to my small companies. I got 34 plus companies. They can't raise a dime. There's no Bidenomics for them. They have no capital, and that's a big problem, and it's manifesting itself. Those are the people that are looking for cheaper toothpaste and all the issues that are going around inflation. Core inflation is not down. CPI, yes, but core inflation, the real inflation that hurts a small individual that's trying to live off $58,000.
Is core food? Is food included in core? I need to go look that up. I was trying to figure out. Is core like food and stuff, or is it minus food?
They're getting killed. And this will show up in the polls. This will become political. But we've got to save small business right now. We have to do everything in our power to make sure they get access to capital. This is a problem that's only 6 to 8 weeks old. You talk to anybody running a small business between 5 and 500 employees, they cannot raise any money. That's bad economic policy. And that's because Biden's focused only on the big guys.
Well, we have a family small business, and not only have we been choking for so many years under this administration because of the COVID policies and the regulations, but to your point now, we can't get any capital, and the capital means nothing anyway because the dollar is so much less of a value. Yeah. Carly, on Friends this morning, you were covering extensively the fact that shoppers, when they go to the grocery store, they are facing double-digit increases on those basics that Americans all need every day: flour, bread, sugar, things that we cook and provide for our families with, and yet our whispering, gleefully chuckling president seems to ignore it.
And that's why campaigning on Bidenomics is such a risk, because not only are you telling people, don't believe what I'm feeling, believe what I'm telling you, it's also a risk because if we do go into a recession, it has a name, and it's Bidenomics. And Janet Yellen just said a few days ago that a recession isn't entirely off the table. But the White House is all in on this Bidenomics push. I just saw that they posted something on Instagram, and they're telling people to text them. They provide a number about how Bidenomics has affected them, and they showed a text that they say they received from a guy named Pat. He says, my neighbor just returned to Minnesota from Pennsylvania by car and said they saw nothing but bridges being built everywhere. Thank you, Mr. President. The comment section was not...
Do y'all believe those comments, though? Somebody easily could have wrote that and just put that up. I don't be trusting that from either side. I don't care who put it out.
Saw nothing but bridges being built everywhere. Thank you, Mr. President. The comment section was not kind. I saw one person who said, I'll take a conversation that never happened for 200.
I think the likelihood, Kaylee, of someone texting, writing out Minnesota and Pennsylvania is about a million to one, I'd say.
Yeah.
And when Carly points out Yellen's performance and what she says, I mean, was this before or after she was bowing to the Chinese? Oof. I mean, the optics have been absolutely ridiculous this whole time, but that pales in comparison to the real hurt that American people are facing right now and feeling.
Yeah, I was reading a variety of estimates that the average American since Biden took over has been cost anywhere from $5,000 is the lowest estimate I've seen to $34,000 in inflation. That's real money. Think about.
And they're talking about what, another 50, maybe 75 basis point hike at the next Fed meeting. Like, what? It don't seem to be. Man, listen, bro. Stuff is gonna get real, man.
About you lost.
My bad. It's already real.
Anywhere from $5,000 to $34,000. It's extraordinary. There was the bank rate survey last week that said 78% do not feel financially secure. But note of caution: the economy stupid has always been the phrasing of modern political era. Not anymore. The midterms, it was not the economy stupid. The economy is. If it was the economy, Republicans would have prevailed in a huge red wave. They did not.
I want to yield my time back to you because small businesses, as of even last year, we're still hiring 60 to 70% of the workforce in America. And so it is troubling to think that post-pandemic, they are still suffering, and we're part of that suffering via our president.
It turned on the Silicon Valley Bank. It was the moment when I saw the change occur.
You mean when he paid for rich people not to fail?
But what the shockwave went through that people haven't seen the end of is every bank now, the 4,600 that remain, where most small businesses bank and do payroll on Wednesday night, have been told, hold up on loans because we have to see the effects of real estate going through your portfolio.
Wow.
We've got a problem here, Houston. It's coming to a theater near you.
Kevin, we're so glad that you are here today.
Y'all see that purple thing in the sky?
Yep.
How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're looking at some super creepy things that have been caught on camera that are starting to freak the internet out. So hit that subscribe button and get ready for more creepy content. Just like this.
Y'all see that purple thing in the sky?
Pop star Lizzo has piqued the curiosity of her fans and the general public by sharing a bizarre video on her Instagram.
On my phone it looks crazy. In real life it looks faint. Do you see this?
The short clip features a mysterious purple light in the sky which has left viewers scratching their heads and speculating on its origin.
And then my thing is, if it is something UAP, UFO, whatever, is it looking back at you right now? That would be my thought process. I see them. Do they see me?
Wait. It's gone away. Oh. No, and if you look on here, it's moving around.
In her post, Lizzo says she doesn't usually post content like this, but shared the video in a hope that a certified astronomer could shed some light on the strange sighting. She explained that the mysterious light appeared to break off into separate lights when she began filming, only to eventually vanish into the clouds.
It's like purple clouds.
Yeah, I'd go in the house quickly.
The video has generated a significant amount of attention and conjecture from Lizzo's followers and the online community. Many have speculated that the unexplained purple light might be a UFO or some other unidentified phenomenon. So what do you think this is? Love to hear your thoughts on this one in the comments down below.
I don't know.
In Eastbourne, East Sussex, a local cannabis shop has been experiencing some unexplained and chilling events. 36-year-old Tommy Meredith is the owner of 533 CBD, and he believes that a mischievous ghost has been tormenting his store for the past 4 years. The apparition, or
I know what y'all thinking. Cannabis shop, so is he high? I know that's what y'all thinking.
Seems to check in once a year, causing items to inexplicably fall from shelves. On January 26, 2023, Tommy captured eerie CCTV footage that appears to show a can of drink flying off a shelf without any visible physical interaction.
If I was, that would have sobered me up.
The incident was so frightening that Tommy rushed outside immediately after the can fell. Intriguingly, Tommy's dog seemed to sense something, looking up just 5 seconds before the mysterious event took place.
Yep. Nope. I'm out.
Tommy has tried several experiments to rule out mundane
I'd be like, yo, this stuff in here is good.
explanations, such as vibrations from the road or nearby appliances. However, these attempts have only deepened the mystery, as no other cans in the store ever seem to be affected. The unsettling activity has led Tommy to seek the help of professional ghost hunters to unravel the mystery once and for all. He suspects the spirit may be trying to communicate, as the actions appear playful rather than malicious. It almost seems like a kid. It's a very mischievous thing to do, just knocking things off shelves. Nothing ever gets thrown off, just casually pushed, Tommy explains. The building, constructed in the 1900s, has a long history, having previously housed a convenience store and a video store before Tommy took over. As the paranormal occurrences only happen on one side of the shop, Tommy's determined to uncover the truth behind these bizarre incidents. With ghost hunters on their way to investigate, the residents of Eastbourne eagerly await any revelations that may explain the strange happenings at 533 CBD.
Yeah, he need to get his place back. Give it back.
TikToker Unofficial Chloe recently uploaded a series of news clips discussing the alarming rise of a deadly fungal infection, reminiscent of the apocalyptic storyline of The Last of Us. The first clip highlights the increase in cases reported in California.
This morning about a potentially deadly fungus that's apparently spreading throughout hospitals.
Cases have been reported in at least 30 states, including California. CBS 8's Jasmine Ramirez has details on known cases in San Diego and talked with
The second discusses a zombie fungus, a brain-eating fungus with the potential to turn people into zombies.
Brain eating.
A dangerous contender known as the zombie fungus. A fungus that hacks the brain and could potentially turn one into a zombie.
The Candida auris fungus is causing severe illnesses in individuals with weakened immune systems, spreading rapidly through US healthcare facilities. A recent study by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports a worrying increase in infections and carriers of the fungus. The CDC's new warning follows an outbreak in Mississippi that has infected at least 12 people and resulted in 4 potentially associated deaths since November. Candida auris primarily poses a threat to high-risk individuals, such as residents of long-term care facilities. Approximately 1/3 of those who fall ill from the fungus ultimately die. Data from state and local health departments analysed by the CDC revealed that the number of infections increased by 59% from 2019 to 2020, and by another 95% in 2021. Moreover, the incidence of non-infected carriers also increased significantly, with a 21% increase in 2020 and a 209% increase in 2021. Candida auris has now been detected in over half of US states, with a growing number of...
Don't y'all think it's interesting with all of the talks of the global warming that we're starting to see different diseases, fungi, pandemics, all kind of different things happening? Could it be released from the ice caused by the global warming? Interesting.
Samples resistant to common treatments. Healthcare providers are urged to practice good infection control to combat the fungus, which can survive on surfaces and colonize patient rooms. As Candida
Bro, it's like we need to walk outside in these type of suits all day, every day now. It's going to get to that point soon, I feel like. We're just going to have to walk around just like this. Seriously.
Which can survive on surfaces and colonize patient rooms. As Candida auris spreads throughout hospitals and long-term care facilities, parallels to the end-of-day scenario in The Last of Us may seem chilling. While a fungal apocalypse may be unlikely, the rapid spread of Candida auris serves as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance and infection control in healthcare settings. A mother of two believes she may have solved a 500-year-old murder mystery by capturing the ghostly face of 12-year-old Edward V in a photograph taken at the Tower of London. 40-year-old Mary Ryan was snapping pictures of the historic weapons on display during a family day trip when she unknowingly captured this eerie image.
That little boy? Yeah.
It was not until she returned to her home in Liverpool that she noticed the face in the reflection. Ryan thinks the ghostly face could be Edward V, who, along with his 9-year-old brother Richard, was sent to the Tower by their uncle, King Richard III, in 1483. The boys were never seen again, leading to the widespread assumption that they were murdered. Sir Thomas More, the 16th century statesman and historian, claimed that the princes were smothered by their uncle and buried within the Tower. But this theory has never been proven, leaving their disappearance one of history's greatest murder mysteries. The haunting photograph has left Ryan's family freaked out since their visit to the Tower in early 2015. The mother insists that there were no young boys in their group and the family was at the end of the line during their tour. According to Ryan, the boys' clothing, hair and appearance look very old and reminiscent of the two young princes.
Very, very old. Complexion, like it's kind of pale too, but it just looks like it's no color. Like, yeah. It definitely looks super, super old.
It says, the picture was taken in the White Tower, the central tower known as the Old Keep, and is considered the most haunted part of the landmark. While the family's not experienced any further paranormal activity since the trip, Ryan says she would love to return to the Tower of London, this time with a keener eye on her photos.
No, I wouldn't go back. Why? Nope.
An eerie piece of CCTV footage from August 2018 has been uploaded to YouTube by Vision Paranormal, leaving viewers puzzled and speculating about the existence of vampires. The video showcases an unusual scene captured by a factory security camera in an English neighbourhood. As two men walk down an alleyway, a closer look reveals their remarkably striking features. Both individuals appear to have long, pointy ears, dark eyes, and elongated noses, leading to comparisons with the classic depiction of vampires.
If we do have vampires, I feel like it's Hollywood's fault. I feel like they manifested them. All the movies and different things like that. I feel like they manifested them to be here. But this could be movie theater, scene stuff, makeup, prop, all that type of stuff. It could be. I don't know.
However, some viewers argued that the men could simply be wearing highly detailed masks, dismissing any paranormal explanations.
Could be.
So, is this a genuine vampire sighting, or merely an elaborate hoax? Love to hear your theories on this one in the comments down below.
Can't lie, that's a really good mask if it is. That one is very lifelike.
Before we take a look at an eerie Ouija board session, remember to hit that subscribe button, then tickle that little bell icon there and turn on all channel notifications. That way you'll be in the loop every time we drop our scary and creepy videos.
Hola, ¿qué tal amigos?
A chilling piece of home footage uploaded by Facebook user Desdil Masala Zerchu has captivated paranormal enthusiasts and skeptics alike. The video features a young man attempting to communicate with the spirit world using a Ouija board, an object steeped in occult history and believed by some to be a conduit for summoning the dead or contacting otherworldly entities.
When are y'all gonna learn? Leave that alone.
Ouija boards.
Who created the Ouija board? Please, somebody put it in the comment section if you know. Is that person there?
Have been the subject of much debate and controversy, with numerous accounts of hauntings and supernatural events tied to their use. One famous example is the Enfield poltergeist haunting, where a family in London claimed to have experienced a series of disturbing paranormal activities, including messages received through a Ouija board. In the eerie Facebook footage, the young man's Ouija board session appears to grow increasingly strange. At first, a candle in the room begins to flicker unnaturally.
I didn't even see that at first. Yep, you got what you asked for.
Then you can start to hear some strange banging sounds. Eventually, the camera catches this.
Nah, don't get scared now.
An object on the nightstand topples over, seemingly without any physical intervention.
Yeah, too late. The presence
This
is
unsettling
there.
series of events raises the question, did the young boy genuinely make contact with the dead, or is this simply an elaborate hoax designed to deceive and entertain? As the debate continues, the footage remains a fascinating glimpse into the world of the occult and the mysterious power of Ouija boards. Well, that's the end of today's episode.
Yeah, see? People start that stuff, and once you open that door, bro, it's hard to close it back. You better know what you're doing, man. I remember when the Ouija boards and people was doing it when we were younger, man. I never liked them things, fam. Never liked them things. I can't believe they still around. It's crazy. Y'all get at me in the comment section, man, and let me know what you thought of this video and the rest of them. Some crazy stuff going on out here, man. Y'all stick around and stay tuned. Till next one, I'm gone. Peace.